What is going on, everyone? My name is Chris Vincelli. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And in this video, I'm going to be discussing the differences of living in a big city and a small city. Big city versus small city living. I've had the pleasure of living in big cities throughout my life, but I've also had the experience of living in a small city as well. So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the differences of living in a big city and a small city. And the differences can be pretty stark. They can be pretty big, pretty major. So in this video, I'm gonna talk about the top 5 differences of living in a big city and a small city. And I'm not gonna waste any time. I'm gonna dive into that right now. All right, so first and foremost, the biggest difference is the cost of living. Living in a big city tends to be more expensive than living in a small city. To give you an example, I was paying about $1,000 a month in rent for a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment with a living room, a dining room, and the building itself had a gym, a pool, a business center. It was a pretty modern facility. I felt very comfortable there. And like I said, I was paying about $1,000 a month in rent for that apartment. Compare that to my current situation where I'm still living in a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. The apartment is slightly smaller, but I still do have my 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom. I still got my pool, my gym, my business center, a couple other amenities as well. So my living situation really hasn't changed that much, yet I'm paying more than double what I used to pay, all because I'm living in a big city now. My rent doubled just because I moved to a big city. So yes, the cost of housing is a lot more expensive in a big city, and it doesn't really end there. The cost of just going out for a night on the town is also going to be more expensive when you live in a big city too. For example, here in Miami, it might cost me $10 to even $15 for a drink at the local bar. And that was simply not the case when I was living in a small city. I can get a drink at a bar for just a couple bucks, and a meal might have costed me about 10 bucks in a small city. Whereas now that I live in a big city, that same meal might cost me $20 or $30. So living in a big city is much more expensive than living in a smaller city. The next big difference of living in a small city and a big city is the nightlife. Big cities tend to have a better nightlife simply because there's more choice, there's more selection. There are more bars and nightclubs that you can choose from whenever you go out. For example, in my neighborhood here in Miami, there are literally dozens of bars for me to choose from every time I go out. And each one of these bars offers their own unique theme. We got dive bars, we got speakeasies, we got live entertainment venues. In small cities, however, you're not gonna get that selection. You're not gonna get that variety. You might only have 1 or 2 bars that you frequent on a regular basis. That was certainly the case for me when I was living in a small city. There was basically 1 bar that I went to every weekend because that was the only bar in the city that I liked. There wasn't much variety when it came to the nightlife, and I wasn't very fond of the selection that I had. So when I did find a bar that I actually kind of liked, I ended up going there all the time because it was the only one that I felt I wanted to go to. Another thing I'll point out is that when living in a big city, you can go out pretty much any night of the week. The bars and nightclubs here in Miami are filled with people 7 days a week. Literally from Monday to Sunday, people are going out. And I know that's the case in other big cities across the United States and around the world too. You can go out pretty much any night of the week and there will be something happening. Whereas when living in a small city, the nightlife tends to be restricted to Friday nights and Saturday nights only. There really isn't much going on outside of the weekend. All right, the third major difference I'll talk about are the number and type of events that take place in a big city and a small city. Big cities do tend to host more major events, events like major tennis tournaments, the Super Bowl, the Olympics. All these type of sporting events take place in major cities. And big cities also tend to host significant cultural events too. And you'll also see most major conventions taking place in big cities. So big cities do tend to host more events that attract locals and people from around the world. International, global events do tend to take place in big cities instead of smaller cities. Big, international, global events do tend to take place in big cities as opposed to small cities. Now, small cities do host events too, but they're more regional in nature. For example, some smaller music festivals do take place in small cities, and cities and towns with a university also may host certain university-related events too. But yes, it is worth pointing out that most major global events take place in bigger cities. All right, I got a few more points I want to go over, but before I do so, I want to let you know that whether you've seen my content before or if this is the first time viewing one of my videos, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you can be notified every single time I come out with other great and similar content. And if you haven't done so already, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and smash that like button. YouTube loves it when people like my videos. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. It helps support the channel. So go ahead and smash that like button. And yes, I am on Instagram, so feel free to follow me there too. All right, the next major difference of living in a big city and a small city are the type of jobs that you can find in either. And in big cities, not only do you find more jobs, but there's more variety, more selection when it comes to the jobs and industries that you can work in. There are many different industries that are present in big cities. For example, here in Miami, the travel and hospitality industry is very big, but so is the financial services industry, the technology industry, and there are many jobs related to the universities that are here too. So when looking for a job, you have some choice, you have some variety when it comes to the type of jobs and the type of industries that you can work in. Whereas when living in a small city, that variety, that choice might not be there. What you might find, however, is more specialization. Many small cities are dominated by one single industry. So you have a lot of jobs, a lot of good, high-paying jobs that are all tied to one specific industry. So for example, in a college town, a lot of the jobs are gonna be somehow related to the university. And there are many small cities that are dependent upon things like the mining industry and the tourism industry. So you might not find much variety of jobs in those towns, but you will still find some very good high-paying jobs, regardless of how much selection you might find. All right, the fifth major difference I want to talk about is the ability to travel when living in a big city versus a small city. And I have to say that living in a big city makes it so much easier for you to travel to far-flung destinations. Big cities tend to have this thing called an international airport, and international airports like the one we have here in Miami sees flights from all around the world. So if I want to travel to other destinations in North America, or if I want to fly to the Caribbean, South America, Europe, or even the Middle East, I can easily do so from the international airport we have here. On the other hand, small cities don't always have an airport to fly out of. And when they do, those airports tend to have regional flights as opposed to international flights. So when I lived in a small city, it was always a little bit more difficult to travel internationally because all we had from our airport were regional flights. To travel long distances, I would have to fly to a big city first and then catch a connecting flight to my final destination. So traveling internationally is a lot more easily done when living in a big city. But what do you guys think? Have you had the experience of living in a small city and a big city? What have your experiences been? What were some of the major differences that you saw? Did I leave anything out? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And by the way, like I mentioned earlier, whether you've seen my content before or if it's the first time viewing one of my videos, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you can be notified every single time I come out with other great and similar content. And if you liked the video, go ahead and smash that like button. YouTube loves it when people like my videos. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. It helps support the channel. So go ahead and smash that like button. And yes, I am on Instagram, so feel free to follow me there too. Thanks everyone. Talk soon.